Think you know the Brooks Ghost? Think again. Introducing the all-new, better-than-ever Ghost 16. Now with nitrogen-infused cushioning for lightweight, supreme softness that feels good every step, every street, every single day. So go ahead, take your daily joyride in the all-new nitrogen-infused Ghost 16. It'll turn your everyday miles into everyday endorphins. Let's run there. Head to brooksrunning.com to learn more.
Hello, it is Ryan, and we could all use an extra bright spot in our day, couldn't we? Just to make up for things like sitting in traffic, doing the dishes, counting your steps, you know, all the mundane stuff. That is why I'm such a big fan of Chumba Casino. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere with daily bonuses. That should brighten your day a little. Actually, a lot. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. That's ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Hey guys, it is Ryan. I'm not sure if you know this about me, but I'm a bit of a fun fanatic when I can. I like to work, but I like fun too. It's a thing. And now the truth is out there. I can tell you about my favorite place to have fun. Chumba Casino. They have hundreds of social casino style games to choose from with new games released each week. You can play for free anytime, anywhere. And each day brings a new chance to collect daily bonuses. So join me in the fun. Sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Hi, I'm Marion Franklin, a GB canoe slalom athlete.
Yeah, I'm Joe Clark. I am the Olympic champion from Rio 2016.
I'm Joe Fraser, Team GB gymnast.
Hey, my name's Emma Wilson. I'm a windsurfer. I'm really happy to be selected for Team GB for Paris 2024.
This is Anything But Footy, the Olympic and Paralympic podcast, covering the games all the time rather than once every 4 years. I'm Michael.
And I'm John, and we're en route to Paris 2024.
We will never get tired of using the phrase en route to Paris. Coming up, the Great British Rowing Team. That could be the description of them too. They are the best in Europe. Is the world stage next?
I'm really excited that we are so new with so much to learn. Every single time we're coming away going, well, that was fine, that was okay, and still getting a good result is a good place to be.
Olympic champion Helen Glover after gold in the women's 4 at the European Championships. We will hear from all the crew in this episode.
Shall we wait until the very end of the podcast to keep them listening? As we know, rowing always switch off after their bit, but seriously, fantastic to have you listening to the podcast and a great performance in Hungary. Rowing news coming up shortly.
Another injury blow for Team GB ahead of Paris 2024. We've the details. And as we speak, the Olympic flame is sailing across the Med, ready for next week's arrival in Marseille. And the International Olympic Committee has named their refugee team for Paris.
And in our other news from the Games, we've got cycling, fencing, boxing and athletics, including a new British name for some of us to watch out for ahead of Paris. We will talk to Georgia Bell. Stay in touch and see what we're all about anytime. You can find us across all the social media platforms or online at our website, anythingbutfooty.com. So let's start. Yes, I said start with rowing. Great Britain won more golds than anyone else to top the medal table at the European Rowing Championships in Hungary. We keep saying it, but it does put things in perspective after what was a tough, by their own very high standards, Tokyo Games in 2021. But the British rowing team look to be right back on track at the moment, or should we say, en route for Paris 2024.
We should say that.
Yeah. For the third consecutive year since those delayed Olympics, Britain topped the medal table with 10 overall, including, and this for me is the best statistic of all, 10 medals, but 8 golds, a silver and a bronze. Double Olympic champion Helen Glover, now a European champion, with teammates Esme Booth, Sam Redgrave and Rebecca Shorten after victory in the women's 4. And the team told British Rowing that it means a huge amount ahead of Paris 2024 this summer.
I think it was a good kind of solid race and we managed to hold them off in the sprint, so it's a first.
Yeah, and that must have been good. It's what you're after, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely what we were after, but also I think probably the most composed I felt in a race, and that's saying something probably in any race, because I think I've just got a lot of confidence in our crew, and so I almost had this sense of this is still a learning progress. And even mid-race I was like, oh, this is interesting, this is learning, in terms of the big picture. Having said that, you're still in a race to win it, and it was just nice kind of having to play around with different ways of being confident in winning. And today I think yeah, it was like making sure that we were solid enough in the middle that we could be our own things and stay in our own lane for the rest of the race. I think actually as such a new crew, all 3 races in the series are going to be significant moments. You know, Varese was super significant in kind of getting a line in the sand. Today's been a significant moment in terms of almost like referencing last year's Europeans where the Romanians went through us in the last 500. And then I think moving on to the next race is going to be a big learning moment of a lot more nations coming in and like definitely people stepping up and hotting up to the competition. So I'm really excited that we are so new with so much to learn, and every single time we're coming away going, well, that was fine, that was okay, and still getting a good result. It's a good place to be.
Yeah, it's very good. I just getting off the water, and I was saying I've not got any sort of championship title yet, so for me I feel yeah,
it's amazing. Obviously last year at Europeans I was in the 8, and then unfortunately after that I went into Varese in the 4, and that was it for me. So it's just been fantastic being able to race again and feel so confident in what we're doing and confident in my body as well. So
yeah, a couple of hard weeks back at Caversham, and then we're going to World Cup 2 in Lucerne.
So that was Rebecca Shorten at the beginning and the end of that clip. We also heard from Esme Booth, Sam Redgrave and Helen Glover. More rowing now. Lauren Henry, Hannah Scott, Lola Anderson and Georgie Brayshaw in the women's quadruple sculls. They return to winning ways with victory ahead of Ukraine. The British World Champions men's 8 are now also European champions, beating Germany and Romania. Sam Murray and Annie Caddick in the paramixed double sculls were also winners on the Saturday in Hungary.
And just on that race, Michael, one of the other highlights away from the British success for a moment, the Ukrainian pair who finished 3rd, well, the chap proposed on the podium after getting their bronze medal. Fortunately, the lady said yes. So basically got upgraded to a diamond. But congratulations to them. It was quite interesting. I'm not sure Dame Catherine Granger really knew what to say while watching that, commentating for the BBC. But back to the race. Will we see that in Paris? We'll have to wait and see.
Didn't Holly Bradshaw get proposed to at an athletics meeting once?
Didn't also Charlotte Dujardin?
Yes, another one I think who was proposed to in Rio.
In Rio?
At the Olympics. So yeah, maybe it's a thing. I don't think I'll be doing any proposing in Paris in the summer. Quite happy with the current Mrs. Waddock.
I have no more diamonds left. Back to the racing, and the Sunday there were 4 more gold medals for British rowing. The men's pair of Tom George and Ollie Wynne-Griffith became European champions for the very first time, with the Olympics less than 3 months away. And they told British rowing it was hard going in such tough, windy conditions.
Yeah, obviously really good way to win. Like we fell apart in the headwind at the Worlds. We didn't today. I think that's really good. I was looking every 3 strokes at the end for the line, and Ollie hit me like, head in, 7 more. For 7 more about 6 times, so that's good. Yeah, but no, good race. Yeah, happy.
We've just been practicing a lot in training and being better in all conditions and in all scenarios. So kind of get the conditions dealt to us this weekend, and like you see it as an opportunity, see it as a challenge, and see it as something to rise to. So we did that today, and I'm really pleased with it.
Of course, yeah. Like you always want to win, and you always want to put yourself in a good spot. Yeah, significant, but I think we just said there, like we talked with Christian a lot about the big one is the Olympics, you know. And last year, we didn't win the Euros, but then we won both World Cups, and then we didn't win the Worlds. So we're keeping ourselves pretty grounded.
Tom George and Ollie Wynne-Griffith, the British world champions in the men's 4, also won gold. I hope you're keeping up. And there were golds too in the paramix 4 and the mixed double sculls. Benjamin Pritchard won European bronze in the PR1 men's single sculls, and the women's 8 won silver. Now, Louise Kingsley, Director of Performance at British Rowing, said afterwards it had been a great weekend, promising to see us top the medal table once again, but we are still learning and building through the season. I like that comment. We're not there yet. Paris is the focus.
So some good news for Team GB there, but some bad news this week as well. Ondine Achampong is out of this week's European Gymnastics Championships, taking place as we record, and that means she will miss the Olympic Games too after tearing her ACL in training. The 20-year-old British champion was a guest on the podcast a few weeks back. She said that she's devastated. We wish her very well in her recovery, of course. She's only 20 years of age, so a fantastic opportunity for her to return in time for Los Angeles, and of course all the competitions between now and then. British Gymnastics say that they'll support her recovery every way that they can. She was hoping to go to university in America after the Olympic Games, of course. It is the same injury as world champion and teammate Jessica Gadarova suffered late last year as well. And when John spoke to Ondine a few weeks back, we did talk about her and Jess being back in training, and we also spoke about how dangerous gymnastics could be.
Yeah, it's even like what Jess did, it almost something that she does every single day, and it's not even a problem, which just, it does make you think, but it also, I don't know, it just makes you think that it can be on anything. So yeah, it's a bit scary.
Ondine talking to me just a few weeks ago, as we say, we wish her all the best, and she says she'll be cheering the British girls on this weekend from home as they compete in the European Gymnastics in Rimini. World champion Jake Jarman won vault gold in the men's Europeans last week in Italy. Luke Whitehouse who of course came in to replace the injured Max Whitlock, retained his floor title in the Europeans, and overall the British men won team silver as well at those European Championships. Jake, Luke, James Hall, Harry Hepworth, Courtney Tulloch and Joe Fraser.
It has been confirmed no fencing athletes selected for Team GB for Paris 2024 in the Olympic Games after the final qualifier in Luxembourg last weekend. British fencing have told us it ended in frustration, and its focus for all its athletes now switches to Los Angeles 2028. Meanwhile, the Olympic flame is a symbol of peace, and it's currently making its way across the Med, ready for arrival in France before the torch relay starts in Marseille on the 8th of May, or Wednesday next week. That depends on when you are listening to this, of course. One of the new introductions in recent games is the IOC, the International Olympic Committee's refugee team, and the pledge to support displaced people through sport. And John's been following this.
Yeah, it's the third games, Michael, that this has taken place. It started in Rio, carried on in Tokyo, and now in Paris 2024. 36 athletes from across 12 sports have been named by IOC President Thomas Bach.
Your team has been selected out of 74 Olympic scholarship holders. All of you can be extremely proud of what you have achieved. Here are the athletes of the IOC Refugee Olympic Team Paris 2024. Farida Abaroge, Athletics. Omid Ahmadazefa, Boxing. Cindy Ngamba, Boxing. We will welcome you, the IOC Refugee Olympic Team, with open arms and open hearts, in the true Olympic spirit of solidarity, peace and excellence at the Olympic Games Paris 2024. Congratulations and welcome.
Thomas Bach confirming Cindy Ngamba, originally from Cameroon, who now trains with the British boxing squad in Sheffield. She is one of the refugee team for Paris. Congratulations to her. She, of course, is currently awaiting news on her application for British citizenship, but she will be in Paris, come what may. And according to Massima Alizadeh, the chef de mission for the refugee team, she could win the first ever medal for that refugee team. I've been speaking to her and James McLeod, Director of Olympic Solidarity and NOC Relations at the IOC.
Yeah, for the first time in the refugee Olympic team, one of the member qualified by herself, and she prepared for the Olympic Games, and we hope that she could win the medal for the Olympic Games for the first time in the history of refugee Olympic team. Yeah, for sure that all of us, we have the support of our international federation that allow us to participate in the international competition with the collaboration of Refugee Olympic Team, IOC support. And James could explain more about it.
Thank you, Massima. Yes, of course, we hope for a medal, not only from Cindy, but from any of the other athletes, and we'll be working with that. But I think you pick on a very good point, John, about the support the refugee athletes receive from what we can call host NOCs. There were 15 host NOCs that are currently supporting the 36 athletes have just been selected, including Great Britain. We know it's not just the NOC that's doing that. We know it goes to the national federation level. We know it goes to the club level. We know it goes to community level. And you can see that through the different training environments that the athletes have had, that they really, when they're integrated into that host community, they're able to perform really well. And we work very closely with those host NOCs to try and foster that kind of trust and support to allow the athletes to do their sport like a national athlete would do. And that's the spirit of solidarity that this team does. And it really encourages that across the world. And that's why it's something that's very encouraging for us to see that kind of support at all levels.
So incredible stuff there. And the support that British boxing gives Cindy. Now, Cindy is a great sparring partner for the British boxers as well, but it's so important to have this support for this refugee team, and it is quite an achievement for these athletes to get there. And as we heard there, Cindy is the first to qualify outright from the refugee team in the history of that. So fingers crossed that she performs for her and, of course, for the refugee team. And we will have more boxing news to come before the end of this episode.
And I hope they find a place to put a picture of Cindy up at the gym in the Institute of Sport in Sheffield, where they have all the British medal winners from over the years, the likes of Nicola Adams and Lauren Price and Luke Campbell and Anthony Joshua and all the others. So, yeah, hopefully there'll be a place for Cindy after she wins her medal for the refugee team this summer on the wall in the gym in South Yorkshire. You're listening to Anything But Footy, the Olympic and Paralympic podcast. We are preparing for Paris, and we'll hear from a new British athletics hope next. Do stay with us.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Coincidence? I think not. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere, even at 30,000 feet. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
No purchase necessary. VGW. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
This is Anything But Footy. We are en route to Paris 2024.
I've just checked. Team GB pole vaulter Holly Bleasdale has accepted a marriage proposal hours after the disappointment of her 6th place Olympic finish. That is a story I'm reading from the 7th of August 2012. So I was right.
You were, yeah.
Holly accepted a marriage proposal shortly after the pole vault final at London 2012. Meanwhile, back to today. The outdoor athletics season now back in full swing. Check out a local track where you are. Plenty going on most nights and most weekends if you want to see some of the British stars in action. Battersea in London last weekend. And Paris hopeful Georgia Bell won the 2024 comeback 5,000 metres title under the lights. Now, I spoke to her recently at the Glasgow World Indoors after a brilliant indoor season. Now, she, at that point, was actually combining her athletics career with another career fighting computer hackers in the daytime. She started running by doing park runs, but she could well be in Paris for Team GB. She finished 4th in that World Indoor 1,500 metres in Glasgow when I spoke to her. Well, let's start by just reflecting on tonight and your thoughts on the race. So close.
So close, yeah. It was a very hectic, hot-paced race. So I knew it was going to be coming out 4th place is tough for any athlete, just miss out on the podium, but if you told me 6 months ago that I was going to make it to Worlds, yet alone come 4th, I wouldn't have believed you. So I need to be happy with that, and I'm sure I will be tomorrow once it's sunk in a little bit.
Yeah, I was going to say, in a day, 2 days, will you sit down at home and think this has been a real sort of breakthrough few months for me?
Yeah, it definitely has. I mean, at the beginning of last summer, my PB was 4:16, so to consistently run low 4:03s, and come 4th at my first Team GB Vest opportunity is a huge breakthrough. So I'm just excited for what's going to come.
You've really captured the public imagination because as well as running very fast in circles, your job, people talk about that as well. When do you get back to work?
Yeah, I'm actually got a flight back at 6:30 a.m. tomorrow morning, ready for a 9 a.m. sales call with my team. So, yeah, I took Friday off, put my out of office on and said, I'm competing at World Champs today. If you hold off until I get back on Monday, please. So work's been really supportive. It's a lot to juggle, but yeah, going well so far.
Yeah, so how do you juggle kind of training to get to a World Championship final, 4th in the world, and then obviously having all those emails and spreadsheets and everything else that normal office life brings you?
Yeah, well, the social life is really taking a hit, I have to say. It's pretty much just work and training. I do work remotely, so that cuts out a 2-hour commute every day, which is probably the only thing that makes it possible. So I probably go into the office once or twice a week, which means that, you know, I do have time to train in the day. So that's a huge bonus.
It's an Olympic year. It's
Yeah.
always a special year in all sports, but particularly athletics. So what's the plan for you now to try and make sure you're there in Paris?
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of things that we need to implement into training, things that I think can make a difference. So that's exciting to know that we've got lots of areas for improvement. Yeah, I've got to go away and do some thinking and I've been juggling for a while and making it all work, but that is the difference between coming 4th at Worlds and coming 1st. So yeah, I guess I'll have some updates soon on that.
Yeah, I guess I'm not going to be the first person you tell, but you might have a big decision to make over the next few weeks.
Yeah, potentially. I've got a lot to think about. I mean, my job is a really good job, so it would be a really big deal to walk away from it. It's a booming business and I really enjoy it. And yeah, it's a tough one. I mean, it's a good problem to have, but yeah, it's a big life decision, so lots to think about.
But the Olympics?
But the Olympics, yeah, but they only come around once every 4 years, and I didn't even think for a second that I'd be in this kind of shape, you know, 4 months out from an Olympic Games. So it kind of does seem like a once in a lifetime opportunity. So yeah, lots to think about.
All the very best. Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much.
Georgia Bell talking to Michael. Some great stories in there about how she works and how she trains, Michael. And of course, she's not the first. And of course, this is how athletes used to be, where the likes of Linford Christie, Sally Gunnell didn't have funding in those days, and you had to work, and Kelly Holmes was in the army, of course. Well, Eugene Amodadze, of course, what do they call him? The fastest accountant.
Yeah.
He ran 9:93 last year, and he's chasing his Olympic dream. So I do think it does show that there are different ways into this sport. And you mentioned about the park run. It doesn't always have to be one way. It doesn't have to be, oh, I was 15 and 16 and spotted and et cetera, et cetera. You can have a life and also potentially fulfill your Olympic dream.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was really interesting speaking to Georgia there. And as she was saying when we recorded that interview, big decisions to make for her. It seems very much, judging by what's happened since Glasgow, that the focus is for her to try and qualify. You know, we talk a lot, don't we, about funding and the importance of funding. And you know and I know that when we get to Paris, we're going to be interviewing whatever it is, 50, 60 Team GB Olympic medalists. Yeah. And there'll be a vast proportion of those that will thank the National Lottery for the funding that they get via UK Sport during the course of the interviews. But it isn't the only way. And actually, some athletes can be on funding and then drop off funding and can find other ways to support themselves, whether that's a personal sponsorship, whether that is, you know, other methods of funding other than the UK Sport Elite funding. I remember Laura Waitman, you know, who was a terrific prospect, but then, you know, unfortunate, I feel, at the time to drop out of the UK Sport Elite funding, but actually then bounced back and had, you know, some of her best times of her career reaching Olympic finals and things. So, you know, I also think there is always an alternative. And we saw it, didn't we, with some of the terrific British performances in the London Marathon this year as well. Again, not being on elite UK Sport National Lottery funding is the way. People can take up road running, whether that's park run or doing a Great North Run or a London Marathon, and, you know, and get to a very, very high standard.
And staying with athletics, Eugene, who I mentioned, the fastest accountant, he is in that British athletics team in the Bahamas this weekend, looking to book a place in Paris. It is the World Athletics Relays. They are, of course, the 4x100 metre men's and women's qualifying, the 4x400 metres men's, women's and mixed relay qualifying taking place. It's an amazing location, of of course, the Bahamas, but the fastest in the world out there. I think, what is the phrase? Going to be smoking?
And what I would say to people, that's worth following. One, it's going to be on the BBC over the weekend as well, which I think is great news for British athletics. And if British athletics under Jack Buckner have learned anything from British swimming, which Jack Buckner used to be in charge of course, it's to focus on these medal chances when it comes to the Olympics in these relay events, especially I think that mixed relay, which from memory takes place fairly early on in the program, the first weekend of the athletics program. There are big medal hopes up for grabs, I think, for athletics. And, when you consider there's, the two sprint relays, the two 4x400 meter relays, the mixed relay as well, 5 medals in total. We don't know yet what the medal range will be for British athletics, but pick up a couple, 3 medals in those relays, and they're a long way to getting, onto that target where they need to be for the UK sport funding. So, yeah, definitely one to watch, and we'll be following it this weekend. Let's round up some of the other news from the Games as well as we're en route to Paris. World and Commonwealth champion in mountain bike, that's Evie Richards, one of 14 British riders set to compete in the European Championships. It is the first major event of Olympic year. The World Under-23 champion, Charlie Aldridge, will also compete in the men's category alongside Cam Orr. That one is in Romania from May the 8th to May the 12th.
And staying with British cycling, it's also revealed its world-class track cycling bike for Paris, working with Lotus Engineering once again. Norfolk's finest, of course. Renishaw.
Thought you were Norfolk's finest.
Well, I'd like to think so.
You and Grant Holt.
I think I'm up there with Grant. Maybe not quite Lotus, but anyway. Renishaw and Hope Technology. It's hoped the bike will play a key role in helping the team maintain its proud record of success, of course, at the Olympic Games.
Remember the slight change in rules these days. You can't just turn up with your technology at games time. You have to kind of reveal your hand in advance. So those marginal gains, those advantages we saw with British cycling going back to Beijing, for example, in 2008, they've kind of tightened the rules up a little bit, but still fantastic to see that bike. We're planning a trip to the velodrome shortly, I think. So maybe they'll give us a go on it.
I wouldn't let us anywhere near it, frankly.
I'm going to ask. I'm definitely going to ask. But anyway.
I don't know if I could touch the pedals. I don't know if I can reach the pedals.
Well, if you can't, I can't. GB Boxing has named 5 men and 3 women for the third and final Olympic qualifying event, which takes place at the end of May in Bangkok in Thailand. Savannah Stubley, Elise Glynn, Kieran McDonald, Owen Harris, Patrice Mugalzi and Lewis Richardson all getting one last chance after missing out on Paris places in Italy in the previous qualification event in March. Light heavyweight Ramtin Musa and the lightweight Amy Broadhurst will also be joining the squad. Broadhurst has an English father and holds a British passport, but previously competed for Ireland, but got told in March she wouldn't get a chance in the final qualifier with Ireland, so now trying to qualify for GB.
What do you make of that, Michael? I mean, there was all that talk, I remember 20 years ago, when the plastic Brits were all coming through. That was the headline, I think, in the Daily Mail. It's still in my mind. That shows how much influence sometimes this media has in the world that we're in. I never really had a problem with it. I always was of the opinion that if you've got an English father, you've got a British passport, you can compete for who you want to compete. I think Declan Rice, the Arsenal midfielder, played, of course, for Ireland, the Republic of Ireland, and then switches his allegiance to play for England. Now, Amy Broadhurst got told in no uncertain terms, according to her statement, that she would not be in this final qualifying if she stayed with Ireland. So she's coming to compete with GB Boxing, and they've given her the chance.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a debate that's new, is it? I mean, you go back to track and field, we had this debate about Zarnell Hughes, didn't we?
Yeah.
Who, we just automatically now have on the Team GB team sheet, every article that you read about the Olympics at the moment, we're all talking about whether Zarnell Hughes can get amongst the medals in the men's 100 metres as he did at the World Championships. So the conversation has moved on from the fact that he was born and raised in Anguilla, which is, a British overseas territory. I think when it gets to games time, whatever route any of the athletes have taken to get there, to be on the team, I don't think it really matters. No rules have been broken.
No.
The procedures, the rules are in place. Amy Broadhurst has seized and has seen an opportunity. GB have seized and seen an opportunity that they could potentially bring another medalist into the group as well. So I don't see any issue with it whatsoever.
We wish her, of course, and the rest of the team good luck at the end of May. As Michael said, last chance saloon. And Tokyo Paralympic table tennis medalists Tom Matthews, Jack Hunter-Spivey, Ross Wilson and Megan Shackleton, as well as European silver medalist Grace Williams, are all in action in Slovenia in the next week. And they're aiming for good results because they, despite winning medals in Tokyo, have yet to qualify for Paris 2024. The World Paralympic Qualification Tournament then takes place, also in Thailand, at the end of May in para table tennis. So places still up for grabs for Paralympics GB.
You are bang up to date on everything you need to know now ahead of Paris 2024 and the Olympic Games and the Paralympic Games. If you can't wait until our next podcast, and I think we're averaging 2-3 a week at the moment as things ramp up towards Games time, you can always keep in touch across social media at any time. Find us on Threads, on X, on Facebook, on YouTube, on TikTok, and the other ones that I've already and probably forgotten about and missed out. But yeah, all the news on a daily basis there. You can also read our latest blogs. The latest one is all about the Commonwealth Games and the future of perhaps the event in 2026 and Scotland's plan to host it in Glasgow. You can read that at our website, anythingbutfooty.com. And if you want to find some sport to watch and to follow, we've also got our 2024 sporting calendar online there as well. Do stay with us. We are Anything But Footy en route to Paris 2024, the Olympic and the Paralympic Games.
Sports Social Podcast Network.
Okay, round two. Name something that's not boring.
A laundry? Ooh, a book club. Computer solitaire, huh?
Ah, sorry, we were looking for Chumba Casino. That's right. ChumbaCasino.com has over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.